Hello and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, the elections of Uttar Pradesh are midway, and we are at that precise point where one can actually, well, hopefully see, where the election is headed. Is there a wave? Is there not a wave? Has Yogi Adityanath held on to his vote? Will the BJP come back, or will it come back with a lesser number? That seems to be the popular view, that they'll maybe cross 200, 230, 250, but not more than that. In that case, what happens to Yogi Adityanath? And secondly, is there also the Samajwadi Party Gadbandhan? That is, we're also hearing the word that the Gadbandhan is doing well, despite all odds. It did well even in the third and fourth phase, where it was not supposed to. So contradictory views, different reports from the ground. We have a panel of experts over here who will help us try and make sense of where the election in Uttar Pradesh is heading. Of course, no one can really predict, but at least we can try. Joining me on the show is Badri Narayanji. He is a political analyst. He's the author of Republic of Hindutva. We have Dr. Sanjay Baru, political analyst, commentator, and he's also the author of many books, in fact, on the power elite, on the accidental prime minister, few that I have enjoyed. And Nija Chaudhary, I don't know if I'm political analyst, commentator, and Nija will tell us whether we're allowed to talk about her new book, which is coming out soon or not. But Nija, you've been to UP. What is your feedback so far on the election so far?
Look, what can be said with certainty, and everybody is saying it, that it is a kaante ki takkar. It is also, everybody is saying it with certainty that the BJP is not going to get the number of seats it got last time. It will be a sharp drop. Now the question is whether will they make it on their own, or will they be just short of a majority and will have to cobble together a government with the help of smaller parties like the BSP. And the statements that have come recently from Amit Shah, praising Mayawati, reaching out to Mayawati that we want constructive cooperation from BSP as well as Samajwadi Party tagged on. Those are very interesting signals, Priya. But on the whole, they think they will somehow manage. But it certainly will not be what it was in 2017. And what is to be seen, I call this election an election of sentiment, which is going the Akhilesh Yadav, Jayant Chaudhary way, the Gathbandhan way, versus a well-oiled, massive, resource-driven machinery. And elections these days are not only about sentiment, it is also about this machinery and the last mile that it helps with, and which manages the sentiment also.
But you're there in Allahabad, as Nija very rightly expressed it, aptly expressed it, that it's a battle of sentiment versus a well-oiled machinery. What are you hearing? And also about the Dalit vote, what is happening with Mayawati? Why is Amit Shah saying, is he linking Mayawati's vote with the BJP with his statements?
Nirja, Priya, what Nirja ji said, I'm fully agree what he's saying. This election is, the way BJP is contesting this election, it's very well organized, well planned, and with a very rigorous and hard work. And you see the way they are planning. Within 3-4 days, their election is taking a hit, and it is going at higher pitch. Bigger leader of Uttar Pradesh, BJP, are sitting in the small cities in Uttar Pradesh and having organizing not a rally, but a small meetings on tea with many people in their door-to-door meetings, smaller meetings. So they are working hard, and the way they are circulating their narratives, the way Modi recently in Kaushambi said, घर घर सबसे जाके कहना कि मोदी जी ने प्रणाम भेजा है, तो 2 लाख लोग रैली में आए थे, and 2 lakh लोग will go to the door-to-door and say the Modi ne pranam bheja hai. So these all are working for BJP, and it's a close fight, but BJP is taking its election ahead. Every day they are adding. That's the feature of the BJP campaign in this election. They are not losing; they are gaining every day. So about Dalit vote, see the Jato vote are very much fixed with the Mayawati. There is no erosion in that base vote. But after Jato, there are 5-6 bigger Dalit caste, comparatively bigger Dalit caste. their votes are being divided, which the people in the villages call fata hua vote. They are fata hua vote. Pasi, Kori, Dhobi, Nai, Namdev, this Darji, Hindu Darji, no, they were the, but they never had been BSP based vote. Any total votes BSP couldn't get any time. BSP always got their fata hua vote support. But in this election, this fata hua vote, majority of the fata hua vote is going towards BJP, not to BSP. That's the loss of the BSP. And more after that, there are 50 Dalit castes, smaller Dalit castes. They are this narrative of security, suraksha, no, because they are saying कि इस सरकार में कम से कम हमारी बहू बेटी तो सुरक्षित रही हैं, तो हम ठीक से हमें सुरक्षा है इसमें. And if you dig suraksha, then they will tell कि सुरक्षा किससे, no, fear किससे. So fear psychosis, dar, and the suraksha is mobilizing them. And what we are observing these 4-5 days, this suraksha thing and this mobilization, which you can say the Hindutva mobilization in a different language, in different vocabulary, is again appearing in the election. They are trying since many days for that, but a lot of this terror issue, the very statement of our chief minister, he always tried to take the election.
I'll just go into after this. We'll talk the issue, but first let me get Dr. Baru also in. Your first takeaway from the election so far, Dr. Baru.
Well, I mean, I'm sitting in a distant Hyderabad and observing what is happening, so I don't have the ground level kind of knowledge that the others, two speakers who have spoken.
The analysis.
Today. But let's look at what has just been said, Suraksha. The fact is that the entire BJP campaign has been built on this whole issue of law and order and security. At a time when the economy has been in shambles. UP has had the lowest rate of growth in the country in the last 5 years. The UP's handling of the COVID and the damage done to COVID has been terrible. The situation of farmers has been terrible. So the economic woes of the people in the state, from all accounts, whatever I've read, are terrible, which is one reason that the BJP is focusing on law and order and suraksha. So to me, from a distance, it appears that, what are people going to vote for? A suraksha in terms of law and order, or suraksha in terms of livelihood? In fact, I think it is Prime Minister Modi himself who once coined the phrase livelihood security. So is it security of employment, security of livelihood, which is more important, or security from whatever violence or law and order issues, which are more important? We'll have to wait and see. Of course, the BJP government has given a lot of subsidized food and gas and various other things. They're selling paddy with the Prime Minister's face on the paddy bags and so on. And all of that will probably work for them. But I think it's an interesting contest between two very different platforms. And I think that is what is important, that the platform with which the BJP is going to the voter is different from the platform with which the opposition is going to the voter. And we'll have to wait and see which platform will appeal more. That is in the future. But let me say one thing about what Nirja said, that BJP in any case is not going to come back with 300 seats, and it will be less. And that is what fascinates me, because the overall outcome of these elections, the numbers count. The numbers count not for formation of government. I mean, if BJP gets even 210 seats, they'll form a government and they will declare victory. In our kind of system, whoever forms a government declares victory, even if they go down all the way down from 300 to 210. But those numbers will make a difference for the presidential elections. So to me, the most interesting question is, the numbers are important because they will determine the electoral college. And they will determine whether Mr. President Ramnath Kovind is given a second term as a Dalit president, and Mayawati's help, etc., is taken, or whether there will be a South Indian Tamil president, as some people speculate.
Or a Bihari president.
Or a Bihari. I think for me, the numbers matter. It's one thing to say, okay, BJP will get fewer numbers, but end up forming a government, but fewer by what number? And I think that is what is the question I would be looking at.
If I take the numbers argument further, Nirja, the numbers also will decide the fate of Yogi Adityanath, won't it? Because if it's, I was having an argument with some BJP leaders. They're saying, agar 230 cross kar diya, to he will remain. Some people say 250 cross kar diya, to he will remain. But everybody agrees that there is a benchmark that he has to perform. Otherwise, he may be replaced.
I think, of course, the stakes are very high for the BJP in Uttar Pradesh because it will decide, how the party fares in the coming elections in the states, as well as more important in the 2024 election. That's conventional wisdom. But the stakes are the highest in this election for Yogi Adityanath because he is positioning for the post-Modi era. And I think it's not only him, even somebody like Arvind Kejriwal is positioning. Suppose he wins Punjab as an aside on his own, he will be, Aam Aadmi Party will be looked overnight with, through a different lens, state after state. But that apart, Yogi Adityanath, suppose he just manages to scrape through, then the chances that he might be replaced are quite high. If he manages 230, Priya, which you're talking about, which is a very, reasonably comfortable number, then he will stay. And there are sections inside the RSS today who feel that Modi has, as far as the Hindutva agenda is concerned, Narendra Modi has done what he could. Now the next lap will be done, covered by Yogi Adityanath, the next part of the agenda. And of course, Yogi Adityanath has a cult following in Uttar Pradesh of his own, which is different from Narendra Modi's. So given that, of course, there'll be Amit Shah also, who would, look at the post-Modi period. But I think the stakes, to answer your question, the numbers have a direct bearing on what happens to the future politics of Yogi Adityanath.
Badrinathji, you said a lot of issues, but you did not say Hindutva. So is that we have Ram Mandir, this is the year where Ram Mandir is going to be built. But somehow, apart from the 80-20 issue, PM ne bhi campaign nahi kiya. He is now campaigning. First two phases, PM was missing actually. So is it now being fought on other issues also? And itna predominantly Hindutva nahi hai. Ya ab hoega in phases mein.
See, Hindutva, the vocabulary of Hindutva is changed now. Earlier, it was Ram Mandir. Earlier, it was dignity of Hindutva, and it's already there. It's not disappeared. But the new terminology, that is the Suraksha. Suraksha from whom? And the Suraksha for who is able to give Suraksha. So now the Hindutva is appearing in this election discourse through the Suraksha lens. Suraksha lane, you can say. And so Hindutva is there. And the second is, if you go in the villages and talk to the people about this Suraksha, you will be able to know that what this Suraksha means for them. It's very clear. Now, after half an hour discussion, they will tell you what Suraksha they feel, they want. And that Suraksha leads to them towards Hindutva. And I think in the next, all the 6, 7, this 4th, 5th phase, and 6th, 7th phase, if this metaphor works, if this narrative works, then BJP will get upper hand in the other phases. If it is not going to work, if it failed to work, then BJP will be in difficult situation, especially in 6th, 7th phase of 6th, 7th, which are going to be held in the
What have you heard of the 3rd and 4th phase, Badrinathji? What is the feedback?
The kind of information which we got, according to that, they performed well. BJP performed well in the 4th phase, and the 5th phase they are going to perform well, again well. And it is not because of their narratives. With the narratives, they are also working hard to recover the elections, which they have suffered and lost in the 1st and 2nd phase. And the kind of we are seeing on the ground, the way their workers and the cadres are working, that's amazing. That's amazing. Actually, Samajwadi Party is there are political conditions favoring Samajwadi Party, but Samajwadi Party are not struggling this election in very organized way, in a very planned way. No, a trained army of campaigning, trained army of organizing the elections, poster, hoarding, narratives. No, narratives are in their favor, but and the ticket distribution, there are all the issues. There are a lot of issues. So if they have contested this election from the very beginning in a very planned way, in the way BJP contests every elections, I think they may have this was a very good opportunity for them. But if they lose this opportunity, it is not because of the political condition. It is also because of their ways of doing campaigning.
Organization, what Nija talked about. Dr. Baru, but we saw the prime minister. We did not see the prime minister in the first two elections. Really, the virtual is. Why is that? Is it because he thought the farmers' bills would backfire in Western UP, and now he's going to come a big way where there is Ayodhya and a suitable ground for him to come and speak?
I guess so. I mean, I can't second guess why he did not appear in the first two phases. I would imagine Western UP, he would have found the same kind of response that he found in Punjab. In Punjab, it was very, very hostile, virtually abusive, the response. And I don't think he would have liked to go through that experience in Western UP before getting into the rest of the state. So I would imagine that was one reason. But, also I think the fact is that the ground level feedback from Western UP has generally been negative. And since this is a narrative of leadership and his impact, I mean, after all, the question that a lot of people will ask is, did Yogi Adityanath win this election? Did Amit Shah win this election? Or did Narendra Modi win this election? And that is also an issue that the three of them would have in the back of their mind, in the manner in which they have campaigned, in the manner in which they would like to interpret the result. Because it's, let's face it, this is the beginning of a power struggle within the BJP, as you correctly said, for the next generation. While the overall party machinery is very, very smart in terms of its media projection, the fact is on the ground, there is a lot of disaffection, even within the BJP, with the current leadership, and within the RSS, with the current leadership. I mean, there are many factors that are not favoring the current leadership, and therefore, I think how you build the perception over a bad result. I mean, not a defeat, but even a victory. If it's not a convincing victory, can begin the process of some form of challenge for the leadership in the party. So I assume those calculations would be very much in the minds of these leaders.
Election is actually this right that there is election that goes beyond 222 is going to even decide 224. What Amit Shah said from Dr. Baru's points. But Nija, the issues at hand, what have been the dominant issues that have favored each party? Law and order is, of course, obviously worked against Samajwadi Party. What is working in their favor?
I think this time Akhilesh Yadav, if you notice, has not been drawn into the Hindu-Muslim rhetoric. He's very studiously avoided that. And he has concentrated completely on the economic issues, livelihoods, prices, and so on, the economic distress and of course, COVID. I don't think we have the numbers we have really of the number of people who died in Uttar Pradesh in the heartland. We don't have that. And the impact it's really had on families who lost their loved ones are not going to forget it, nor other villagers around. So that is not talked about so much. So those are the issues. As what is going for the BJP are two things. One are the Labhartis, these various social welfare schemes that have by which people have got grain. Interestingly, recently with the grain and oil, they are giving namak, salt. Now, somebody who has eaten the salt, किसी का नमक खाया है तो आप उसके खिलाफ नहीं जाएंगे. That's the psychology that the BJP is working on. So all the social welfareism that they have done, people say, हाँ मुझे pension में मुझे ये मिल रहा था, so I am going to vote for them. And their workers at the ground level are going door to door to ask them, to remind them, have you not got this, don't forget. So that Labharti bit is going to help the BJP. And of course, as Badri Narayan was saying, the Suraksha part for all the big things like Hathras and rape cases that have happened, people by and large, there are communities that have felt more secure. And I think one other thing that's very noticeable, Priya, this time, under the umbrella of Suraksha and law and order, is the Hindu-Muslim question. Without stating it, what they're pointing to is Suraksha from whom? Suraksha from these dangais, these gangs led by these Muslim criminals. That is the way they've done the polarization this time. And because this time I know in Western UP, certainly so many Jats and farmers said, we are not going to be taken in by the Hindu-Muslim question this time. If the way we were in 2013 because of Muzaffarnagar riots, which had an impact on the 14 election, 17 election, and 19 election. So I think people were quite alert. So these are the things that are helping the BJP. But I would say just a half a moment to wrap up. Hindutva is not working to the extent to which it had worked in the past. And the BJP has had, the strong leadership, Hindutva, national security, and this time PM's personal security has been added to it, social welfareism, which is working. And what we need to see is the most backward castes, the non-Yadav lower castes, the extent to which they will stick with the BJP and the extent to which the non-Jatav amongst the Dalits will stick with the BJP. I think the outcome will be determined by that.
But that's my question to you, Badri Narayan ji. The caste coalition of Akhilesh, do you think it's going to work? Because उन्होंने अच्छा तरह से calculations किया है. Now पूर्वांचल में वो will it work for him or not?
Sure, certainly it will work for Akhilesh. The kind of alliance with the caste-based party he has done. But if you see the map of alliance, of both the parties, Akhilesh, Muslim, Yadav, Rajbhar, some Mauryas, Patel, some Patel, some percent of Patel. And after that, there are the smaller community of the embassies, those who are not happy with the government due to the corona, due to their displacement of their family members in the corona time, unemployment, whatever. This is the social alliance which you see for the Akhilesh. For BJP, if you see the social alliance, upper caste, then non-Yadav Urmis in a bigger way, then Mauryas, certain percent, Nishad, mostly because of the Rashtriya Nishad party, and the other MBCs and all, because of the Suraksha in terms of Hindutva. I am saying Suraksha is another vocabulary to express Hindutva or to work of the Hindutva. Hindutva is not the Hindu Jai, it's not like that. If you dig Suraksha, they will say Suraksha from Muslims, criminals. And that's the Hindutva, that's the Hindutva mobilization. Women in the villages, Dalit women, dhobis, in a smaller Dalit caste, we used to talk. They said, अब हमारे कम से कम हम लोग बाहर सो तो सकते हैं. पहले तो बाहर सो नहीं सकते थे because they have a small house, so they had to sleep outside. So they are feeling, so this kind of thing, Hindutva is appearing in this way. और जिन villages में Muslims हैं, वहाँ पर तो बहुत ही strong mobilization towards BJP is occurring in few days in this area, which we are seeing. So Hindutva is there, but in a different way, in different vocabulary. That's the.
Dr. Baru, your final takeaway from this conversation, and caste, I think, is now going to come into a play rather than, at least in the foreground of the narrative.
Well, my friend Surjit Bhalla has been saying repeatedly that caste is not a factor, and he has marshaled lots of data from many elections to question this whole caste argument. So while we continue to talk about caste and subcaste, I do think there are larger issues that affect people, and certainly the condition of family livelihood their livelihood security, their economic security. These are, very important issues, inflation, etc. So, I'm not a student of the sociology of voting, but I'll go along with Surjit data, the amount of enormous data he has looked through to question this, every election being viewed in purely caste terms. I think there are other factors that will work, and I hope that UP comes out with a decisive mandate.
Where do you see the aspirational vote going, Dr. Baru? One last question. Last time Modi won because of the first time voter. That's been with him. But now, will that?
Frankly, the aspirational vote has to go with someone who's talking about economic conditions. How can it go with someone who's talking about security? I mean, I don't aspire for a life in which I can peacefully sleep at night. I aspire for a life in which my child can get a job, my children can go to school. Aspirations are economic. Aspirations are not about security. Security is a fundamental right. So when a government says, "Oh, I've given you security," I mean, that is not an aspirational slogan. But when a government says, "I've given you jobs and I will give you better jobs," that you are tapping into aspiration. So the aspirational vote is actually with Akhilesh this time, because he's talking about better quality of life. Well, the BJP is a defensive argument saying, "Oh, I protected you from violence. I protected you from murder. I protected you from rape." I mean, that's the basic governance, right? That cannot be a slogan of an aspirational political movement.
Thank you. Well, we see what happened in Bihar. We saw the beginnings of the narrative, going towards jobs and economic issues with Tejasvi Yadav. Will we see that happening in Uttar Pradesh also? Will the vote go that way? That really is the big question. But thank you all for this very comprehensive conversation. And we'll have many more before the results on March 10th. But till then, take care and thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.